Hi everybody, it's Marcy and Chunk here again, my little buddy, and we are here to film another edition of Chunky Knitted Creations. And today I have something very exciting for you. I had been promising to do an Easter basket and I ran out of time and I felt really bad. So I kind of came up with a compromise, something that's even better. And you can also make an Easter basket almost the same way as what I'm going to show you. And I have never seen this made out of chunky yarn before. It is a plant holder. Look at that. Isn't that great? So you can make your own design, use your own colors, add your own flair to it, have it match your house. I, of course, am going to use my own super fluffy ivory and pink truffle. So I'm going to make most of it out of ivory, and I'm going to do some pearl stitch accents in pink truffle, and then I might even do one of the handles in pink truffle. We'll see. So I like to mix it up and make it, not completely solid. And the bottom part of it, we are going to do a single crochet stitch and to make a flat bottom like I do on a basket. Here is a basket that I've made in the past. I'm also trying to film over my shoulder because a couple of people complained. They didn't like the way it looked when I was had the camera facing me. So I'm going to try this. It's really hard for me to stay on camera because of the way my camera stand is shaped. So bear with me if I go off camera a little bit. Okay, so anyways, here's a beautiful basket that I made a long time ago and it's still holding up. And the bottom, as you can see, I did a single crochet stitch bottom, which is basically how you do for a pet bed. And it just makes it flatter. I like it. It stands up a lot better. And you could, if you're, a seasoned knitter, or crocheter, you could single crochet the whole side, just like you do a pet bed, but just make it smaller and taller. And then I did a nice thick double braided handle on this. So we're going to do a plant holder a very similar way. I'm going to show you actually two ways to do the bottom. So if you find this bottom part a little too challenging for you, which it did take me a long time to pick this up because I know nothing about crochet. I'm ashamed to admit, but I don't. I've always just done hand knitting. It's just what I picked up and I love it. So I have seen these really cool wood bottoms that you can buy on Amazon, and I will drop the link in the comments. And you can buy these in round shapes, in oval shapes. You can use them for purses, bags. But what's really nice is these little holes in the bottom. And if you like loop yarn, which I am starting to learn, they are great for loop yarn because loop yarn is a little thinner and it fits through the holes. So you could get yourself some loop yarn, just push a stitch through each hole all the way around, and then just keep knitting in a layer all the way up, and then finish it up the same way I'm going to show you how I do mine. I actually initially got this to try to use it with chunky yarn, and it can be done. It's just very hard because these holes aren't quite big enough for chunky yarn. So you could do it and then just kind of poke it through with like a plastic crochet needle or something. And it would take a little while to get it started, but it would work great. And you would just like push one through, push a stitch through like a loop and then loop it all the way around. And then you would have these sticking up and then you would just knit right through them and go up. Then you'd have a really nice solid bottom, which would be great for a plant hanger. I'm actually going to finish this and make it a plant hanger for myself too. It just takes a little longer with loop yarn because it's thinner. Okay, so let's get started. So that's one way you can do the bottom if this way doesn't work for you, but this is the traditional way. And I'm going to show you how to do the single crochet stitch. I'm not an expert at this, but I've done it a few times. So you want a short tail and you're going to cast on 3 stitches just like you would for a blanket or anything else that you make with chunky yarn. So let's just do 3, but it's only 3 and you start with 3. Oh, supplies that you're going to need. I'm so sorry. Just like always, your trusty lighter, because we're going to use the burn method. I love these torch lighters, and if not, these candle lighters made by Bic are amazing for lighting chunky yarn because of that nice long end on it. And then your handy scissors. Love my Singer scissors. Been using these for over a year. I've cut probably 150 skeins of yarn with this, and they are still sharp. If you want, you can also get yourself a crochet set. I'll drop the link for this one. I got this on Amazon for about 10 bucks. And it came with stitch markers, which are very important for this single crochet bottom, and in assorted sizes of gigantic hooks. Aren't these beautiful? They're plastic, but you can use these if it's too hard on your hands to do this single crochet stitch. You can use it to pull them through. When I make a stuffed plushie or a stuffed animal, I like to use the hooks. That's the only time I've ever used a hook because I don't know how to crochet. All right, so I get a couple stitch markers out. We won't need to burn for a while. So again, 3 smaller size stitches here. You don't need them to be huge like we do for blankets. So cast on 3, and then I'm going to show you the tricky part. Okay, and this takes practice, and you'll want to stop and rewind if you've never done this before. So 3 stitches, okay? And then you're going to put it on its side and kind of fold it in half, okay? You're going to take your working yarn, put your finger through this stitch, take your working yarn, and you're going to push it through the first stitch on your chain and pull up a loop, okay? And keep your finger in this one at all times. You're going to push those 2 together, okay? Keeping your finger in this hole that you've created, kind of a circle with your 3 cast on stitches. And then you're going to bring your working yarn around underneath and push it through these 2 stitches. Okay, I will undo this and do it again. So you will always have 1 loop on your finger. Okay, and then you're going to grab the working yarn and keep your finger in the other hand in this hole. Okay, push another stitch through to attach to this finger. Okay, keep a hold of this hole. We're going to knit 6 stitches going around in a circle here. Okay, I should move my working yarn to the other side and just try to keep this little guy out of the way for now. Pull that through. Hang on, I undid it. Sorry. You can just pull it back through if you make it too big. All right. No. Push that through. All right. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time for you because I know it was confusing and I had to watch this about 15 times on a very nice ladies YouTube tutorial. All right, so let's start all over from the beginning. All right. Now that you've seen it once, it'll make more sense. Okay, cast on 3. Just fit to where you can fit about 2 fingers through the loop. We're only going to do the bottom part of it with a single crochet. Okay, so you've got 3. Turn it on its side, flip it this way, put your finger through your first stitch, okay? Bring your working yarn through the hole on this stitch, okay? Getting it started is the most confusing part. So pull a loop through. Don't let go of this. Put it onto your finger. So you've got 2. This is kind of the way that you add a border to a blanket. So whenever there's 2 on your finger, you know that your working yarn is going to go through your finger, not through that hole in the beginning, okay? So now since I've got 1 on my finger, I know that I need to create another loop from my circle. I call this my beginning circle right here. All right, hopefully you can see this. I'm having to lean to my left and it's hard. I need a better stand for my camera. Okay, so I've got 2, which means my working yarn must go up here. All right, because I don't need to make another one. Pull a loop through. You're kind of going around in a circle here, always using your center hole that you started with here. Okay, so since I've only got 1 on my finger, that means I need to pull a loop through the hole in the middle. Okay, and you should try to count 6. I think 6 makes our first row. Use my fuzzies. So I've got 2. Pull my working yarn over, pull my loop through. Don't ever let go of that hole there. All right, turn it. Just kind of keep this guy pushed down. We're going to stick him somewhere later. We'll get rid of him. We'll hide him. We'll hide the body. There, 2. And we're going to do this all the way around. All right. so now I'm back to my first stitch here. So I've kind of completed a circle, okay? My alarm is going off on my phone. I hope you guys can't hear that. All right, actually, I think I can fit one more. So you really do just keep going around in a circle. All right. And then make another stitch. Excuse me, I'm going to turn off my phone alarm. I hate that when it happens when I'm filming. Okay, now we have a complete. So now you have your top of your stitch, just like you would if you were doing a blanket, you know, like the sides of your blanket, okay? So we're going to knit through the top of the stitch. I'm going to stop and put a crochet marker, or a stitch marker, I'm sorry, that came with my crochet hook right here, so I know how many rows I have completed. If I can get this on there, these really aren't made for chunky yarn, but I'm just going to kind of rest it there. Basically a plastic. Okay, so start with your finger back to the hole. Now we're going to make another circle around. All right, find the next available hole right here. You're knitting through the top of the stitches, okay? This is how I do it. I mean, everybody else might have a little bit different way they might like to knit through the bottom. So now I need my 2, okay? And when you've got 2 on your finger with your working yarn, it's going to have to go through your finger here and not through here. There, okay. Just keep shaping it. Don't pull don't make these really tight because this will start to fold. You can see mine's already starting to do that. I just keep stretching it out. Kind of ends up looking like a flower. Okay. So if you get confused, look at your finger. If you've only got one loop on it, you know you need to make another one, which means you need to pull it through here to the top of your next stitch, sorry. So now I've got 2, and that means, okay, don't pull one through here, pull it through here. This is how I keep track of it. It used to drive me nuts. I'm like, oh, where am I pulling through now? Well, if I've got 1 on my finger, I need 2. If I got 2 on there, then that means I'm going to pull through there. And you're just going to keep going around in a circle. And if you make them, again, make that bigger. I need to make these bigger. It's starting to curl on me. Don't like that. There we go. Hold that straight and just keep doing it. And my stitch marker is buried in there somewhere, but I'll find it. There it is. All right. You can also use your tail as a marker. Okay, find the next. Actually, I already knitted on that one. And on the next row, if you want, you can knit 2 crochet stitches through each of these top stitches to make it grow bigger faster. Some people do that. All right, there's one there. It'll just increase the size of it a lot faster. Like if you're doing a pet bed, you'll do 2 stitches. And sometimes people even do 3 stitches per line. Okay, go to your next available one. And this does like it right here. I have carpal tunnel really bad, even though 2 surgeries later, they didn't fix it. But I have a hard time doing single crochet stitch. I can only do it for a little bit. So that's where the needle would come in, or the crochet hook would come in. All right, just keep flattening out. This is the tail from before. Okay, just keep pushing that back through. And it will actually look better on the other side usually too. All right, we're just going to get this big enough so that whatever plant you're going to put in here, you might want to like set the bottom of your plant on here so that you know the base of it will fit inside there. That's how I decide when I'm going to stop. And I actually don't have any real plants because I have cats. Well, 1 cat, I'm sorry. And she will eat any plant in the house, even plastic ones. So I don't even try. Even if they're non-poisonous, she's just going to eat them. So what's the point? I do have a lot of silk ones because those I can spray with something, this pet block stuff, so that she won't eat them. there's my stitch marker. So I know I'm coming around my second row. But see how much bigger it got with just 2 rows? You don't have to do a whole lot. And I'm going to make this a smaller one just so that this is not a very long very long video. I tend to pause when I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm knitting. So that one I actually already stitched on that. Make them long enough so that you can reach over, pull your next stitch through. You want them to be like facing each other too, so that if they're not twisted, it'll look better. To me, this is the bottom of it that I don't really see, so it doesn't bother me. But if I were making a pet bed, I would be a lot more picky about my stitches looking the same. Alright, so now I need to pull through another one. That one's a bit loose, but we shall fix it. Go to the next stitch. Just if you accidentally do 2 through once, knit through 1 stitch twice, it's okay. Just gonna make it bigger, faster. And every once in a while, again, I like to stop and just kind of shape it, stretch it out a little. So I've already done 1, 2, 3. I have a hard time counting these again because it's not a knit stitch. But makes a good solid base, and I have tried making a base out of, just a round knit stitch base, and I just can't seem to get it flat enough for something like this. Pull through, pull your working yarn through. Okay, grab your next stitch, pull through, get them close together. Excuse the fur in my house from the kitty. He likes to play with my yarn. He likes to lay on the balls of yarn. Pretty much why I quit selling stuff mostly, because it took me forever to get the hair and lint off of it, a blanket, or to keep it off. I know you probably all had that problem. So I think I'm going to do like 1 more round, because this is going to be a smaller one. So just remember, if you get confused and like, okay, what do I do with this strand? Does it go through here or through here? If there's 1 on your finger, you need 2. So you need to pull through here to make a second loop to go over your finger. And then if you've got 2 on your finger, then you know your working yarn needs to go through here and not through here. So if you ever want to stop and take a break, I suggest leaving it like that with 1 loop. It's just, it'll stay better. All right, go to the next one. And don't make these too tight or they'll curl. I did my beginning a little too tight. It's starting to curl. Let me know if you guys like this angle better or if it makes a difference, because it's just a little harder for me because I'm leaning over and I'm just afraid I'm going to go off camera all the time. And then you won't be able to see what I'm doing. So you can see that I've already pulled a stitch through this one. So I don't want to do that one again. I don't like doing 2 stitches through 1 hole here because I just feel like, again, it curls up more. All right. Almost back to the beginning. Just going to keep stretching and flattening. And if you're, doing this for a plant and you set your plant down in there, it's going to definitely stretch it out and weigh it. And also, if I forget, when we get to the part where we do the handles, make them a lot shorter than you want, because chunky yarn stretches. I keep saying that to everybody. I feel like a broken record, but I learned the hard way on so many times on making a scarf with pockets and then thinking that I got the right length for somebody, and then they come back to me and say, oh, this thing's down to my knees now. And it was from putting their hands in it and stretching it out. So it's same thing with blankets. If you leave them laying on a bed for a long time, hanging over the side, they will do that. Alrighty. So I think this is going to be a big enough bottom for me. All right, so I am going to take out that stitch marker before I forget. Now if I can remember how I started knit stitching. All right, so actually what I do now is this is going to be my first knit stitch. So now I'm just going to pull up loops through regular loops like we use, okay, through the sides, okay, just regular knit stitch loops right through the tops of these. Sorry, hate that it's folding, but I know that later it will. So again, don't knit as tight as I did and put that through. It actually looks better on the bottom there. So this is the part you're going to see. It looks like a rose. Like if it's hanging, you're going to look down in there. So don't worry about how bad that looks sometimes. Okay, so we've got 3. All right, find your next loop. It'll look like these aren't knitted very close together because of that, but when you get to the second row, just knit really tight. All right, pulling up loops, regular loops, just like this was a cast on chain. Pull them through all the way around. If you had that wood base, you would just pull these through those holes and you'd have a nice solid bottom. And again, this is the same exact way for those of you that still want to make a basket or an Easter basket. I'm going to kind of just call this plant hanging basket / Easter basket tutorial because you would do it the same way. You would start off with this bottom. This was my little tail piece from the very beginning. I just leave that in here because the plant or whatever is going to be on top of it. All right, so I've already got one there. I'm not going to pull through another. And then now just kind of hold them tight together. If you want this to look more like a macrame, I would definitely, I'm going to add a loop here. If you want this to look like a macrame, I would make it really loose because those look more like a crocheted blanket, right? And they have lots of holes in them. So you could make this really loose. You could even use a thinner yarn if you wanted to, like the Bernat number 6. It would take a little bit longer, but it would look more like macrame. I don't know if they make that in ivory or not. See, I'm just knitting through each loop that I had. I hope this is a good angle for everybody. And I'll show you the sides in a little bit. Actually, I just noticed, see, it's actually purl stitching. So I purl stitched the first row because you kind of have to. So now that I've got 2, I'm going to flip it around and start knit stitching, which will make a nice pattern if you want to go knit, purl. And I was going to purl in my other color anyways. So once I get to where I've got 2 stitches, knit stitches, or these actually purled because that's the outside. There we go. Now I'm going to reverse because I'm doing it from the inside out. So now it looks like I'm purling because I am purling from the inside. So I'm going to flip it around and show you what I mean. Okay. This is going to stretch out more as we go. All right. And I kind of purled the first 2 rows. because I did it from the inside out on accident, but sometimes we have happy accidents and it looks better. So let's see, we were going this way. So now I'm going to flip it around and do knit stitch for a while. And again, you can do whatever pattern you want with this. You could even probably try to find a way to do a cable knit. All right. I find that to make sides, tall sides on something, the knit stitch just seems to stand up a little better. So I really did kind of want to knit stitch most of it. Righty. And then you just do this the height of your basket or your planter that you're going to put in it. So have your plant ready next to it, or at least the plastic planter piece that you're going to set your plant inside so that it's nice and clean. And just keep putting it inside here and measuring it and making sure that you get your right height so that it covers your plant. These would be great for, like I said, artificial plants too, because I don't know about watering them, and if it were to seep through the bottom, you'd be able to see it. But chunky yarn's washable, so you could always put this through. See how those purl stitches kind of made this cave in a little bit, but it's, you just have to stand it up like that. We've got a pretty good width. So if I were to, if you knit stitch the whole thing, it's going to stand up better. So I recommend knit stitching almost all of it and maybe throw in like 1 or 2 rows in the middle of it as a purl just for an accent. I actually seen this on a famous craft store. I won't say any names, but on their website, and they had did it with loop yarn. And I thought, I bet you I could make that with chunky yarn. Same as a basket. We are going to make us one. So just keep knitting around in a circle. Excuse the cat hair again. You will see me constantly picking at my yarn. I am picky, picky, picky about it. I don't want any fuzzies, any cat hairs. If you have pets, you know how I feel. Any other yarn fuzzies, especially on this nice, beautiful white ivory yarn. It's my favorite. I just feel like the lighter colors of yarn are softer. I don't know if you guys have noticed that or feel that way too, no matter what brand I've used. Especially my own, though, because I have the best yarn in the world. Seriously, you guys, I must have tried 60 suppliers before I decided on this one. And I knew as soon as I touched it, there was just nothing better. This is almost what some other people sell as a jumbo yarn, like a number 8 almost. This measures thicker than any of the name brand yarns that I've ever had before I started my own company. And that's why I put that on my Amazon store, which I, again, will always drop a link in the comments to my Chunky Knitted Creations yarn that is on my Amazon store, and my brand name on Amazon is actually Marcy and Maya, which is me and my daughter. We started this company together. We are a small business, very, very small, trying to establish something great, doing something that we both love very much. She loves the yarn. She loves everything I make for her. She's got blankets everywhere. I'm trying to teach her how to make stuffies too. And yeah, we really, really need this. Need this to work. And I think it's going to do great. And I'm very, very blessed to be able to do this for a living, because there's nothing I love more than chunky yarn. I've been hand knitting for a long time and making my own things and selling them, and came across a wonderful course that teaches you how to sell Amazon FBA, and just decided that we needed better yarn, and I knew it was out there, and I found us some. All right, so let's see, we're getting there. I have a small plant here. I will show you. I call her, I name everything. I just do. So I'm goofy. Yeah, you're gonna have to put up with my goofiness. They call her minimalist plant, and I don't know why, but she looks like a minimalist plant. So I'm going to try to fit her in here just to kind of show you the final look as we go. All right. So as you see, what I do is when I'm done with this, I take the picture and then I edit it in. So you'll see in the picture in the beginning that you have to have basically three handles in a way. On a basket, you just put two or one big looping handle. So we're going to put three long strands, double-sided, so that it'll be very thick and we'll be able to take the weight. All right, I think I'm going to add in some pink truffle here. As soon as I get to a spot where we're even. So I finish a row. Here we go. I should have kept track of my rows. I'm so bad at that. All right. One more here. All right. Okay. Then again, just shape it as you go. Make sure. So we have 2 rows of pearl, which will flatten out again as you put your plant in here. It's going to stretch out. You can start right out with the knit stitch on the bottom. I think that would actually look better. And then now I'm going to burn in some pink truffle just to give it a little bit of color, and then braid in. So you just cut right behind your stitch, just leave a little piece poking up there. Grab your pink truffle, my signature color that nobody in the world has, made specially for me and you. Okay. Always, when you burn, trim off your ends first so that you can bare the plastic core that's inside there. There's a string that holds it together. You can only do this with chunky yarn because it's the only yarn that has that plastic core. All right, so you can burn these two together. I like to light the not the ivory color if I don't have to, because you can kind of see a burn mark sometimes if you don't do it right. All right, so you see a little burn mark there, but I'm going to trim that off. Push them together. Don't touch it too soon. Give it a minute. Yeah, this is going to cover the burn mark. And plus it's going to be on the inside, so you're not going to see it. All right. Squeeze that. You'll feel the two pieces joined together as hardened like a little ball in there. Squeeze them sideways together. And then flip it this way and squish it. Make sure that you got a really good connection. Especially with your blankets, you want to make sure. All right, and it's not hot anymore, so I know I'm good. Look at, there's no breaking that. Now we can just trim off a little bit of that burnt stuff. I mean, I wouldn't because it's a plant holder and it's on the inside, but if if it happens on a blanket and you burn too much, you might want to do that. All right, so now I'm gonna purl. Got carried away there the first time. I'm gonna purl in 2 rows of this. Hopefully I don't make this too tall. That'll probably purl in a little sooner. I don't think minimalist plant is going to fit in this. It's got a very weird shape to it. So purl, you push through the front instead of pulling through the back. It's just the reverse of a knit stitch. Always hold your stitches close together. Now you can see the contrast where the pink truffle, this is actually pink. It looks white in pictures because I did a very subtle pink to look like the inside of a pink truffle candy. I like my purl stitches to be. And if you decide that you didn't like it knitted and you purled it or whatever, you can flip this inside out and give yourself a different look. All right. Push your stitches through. Okay, this is where we started already. Roll through that one. Roll through that one. Normally I would lay this on my lap and do it to make it easier. Or be sitting above it. Another thing you can do that I normally do with a blanket, if you don't like that, how you see like a stitch row of your other color when you're purling, do a knit stitch row first of this color, then do your purls, and then you won't have that dotted line there. But of course I'm in a hurry because I'm trying to make this short and sweet for you guys. And it's a kind of a long process to do on camera. And you'll see I'm not the best at patterns. I don't, because I didn't ever start with crochet. So when somebody asks me for a pattern, I'm like, ugh, I can't remember. I do have a pattern like for my hats and scarves because I make so many of them. So I write down how many I cast on. And I have patterns for blankets. You know, I keep like a blanket journal, I call it, which is another thing I'm going to do. I have notes all over in my phone of almost every blanket I made, what colors it was, and how many stitches I used, and how it turned out, and how many skeins of yarn. And then you'll always know next time, like if you sell blankets, you get an order, and you're thinking, oh man, I don't know how much to charge because I can't remember how much yarn I would use for that size. That's when you just go back to your notes and say, oh yeah, I made a 40 by 60 blanket and it took me with this brand of yarn this many. All right, so we have a little bit of an accent color there, right? I'm going to switch back to, I should have did this a little farther down. Again, I get in a hurry and I get nervous when I'm doing tutorials and don't do things 100% right, like don't think ahead. So, because I don't really want this to be extremely tall for my plant. Now, if you've got a tall plant, it would work out fine. All right, let's burn them back together and do a couple more rows. I know this is looking funky, but when you put your plant in there, everything's gonna level out just because it's yarn. Sorry, there's an alarm going off on my phone again. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to dismiss it. Squeezy, squeeze, squeeze, squish, massage that ball around. Push, turn it sideways kind of and push it together that way until you feel it's completely hard. Push it there. Rub it together. Squeeze and tug as hard as you can. If it breaks, then you need to cut and burn again. Okay? All right, now back to the knit stitching. I'm gonna do like 2 more rows. And always remember when you get to your very last row of this, you want to make your last row really big because when I do circular things like this, I like to cast off a different way than I do blankets. But even when you cast off with a blanket, you should make your cast off row stitches. The last row, you should make it a little bit bigger so that your last row of your blanket doesn't curl up. All right. Normally, I knit a lot faster than this. It's just kind of hard with this angle and trying to show you what I'm doing here. Grab the next purl stitch, knit through it. Knit through. Yeah, I suggest doing your accent color more in the middle. If you want to do that, you can just completely knit this a solid color. You don't have to do that. I was just trying to be fancy because the one I seen they made it out of like a hot pink color, like my upcoming flamingo pink, which I should have called pink flamingo. I have a color of yarn that I'm getting ready to release. It's already showing in my Amazon store, but it's not going to be in stock for a few more weeks. But it's flamingo pink. And the picture I seen that gave me the inspiration for this from the famous craft store, they had a hot pink or flamingo pink like color and white mixed. It was really cool. But again, if it doesn't match your house, you're not going to want that. All right. So this is getting to be a little tall, but again, this is going to stretch out when you put your plant in there. All right. Mine just looks a little funky because I did too many knit stitches. My first row here, I did a knit stitch, so it looks a little funny, but it'll look good when the plant's in there because it's going to stretch it all out. I'll see if minimalist plant will fit in there to show you guys. All right, so I'm going to do 2 rows normal sized here, and then I'm going to do a last row of really big size so that I can cast off. Sorry. Hopefully I got enough yarn over there. If not, I'm going to have to go to my stash, get another one. Alrighty. So I've got 2 rows of my ivory. Okay. So now I'm gonna use a stitch marker here really quick. Just kind of hanging on there for a minute. Now this is going to be my last row, so I'm going to make these stitches big. Like 3 fingers big. Okay. And then I'll show you how to cast off, and then we're going to add on our handles. Hopefully I can remember how I did that on that one because it came out really good. You make something once, and then if you don't make it, 100 times to, keep yourself fresh with it, you end up forgetting exactly how you did it if you don't write it down. And I did not write down the instructions for that. But always write it down. And then the next year you go back and it's Easter season again, and you're trying to remember how you did an Easter basket, and you don't have any notes, and then you just have to kind of wing it, figure it out. All right. Again, I know it's kind of looking like a mess right now, but it's gonna be fine when we put our plant in it. I really hope my plant will fit in this to show you. I'll take a picture of it and post it also of the whole entire thing from a distance so you can see how much better it looks. Hopefully I'm staying on camera. All right, so I know this is my last one. Sorry. And I'm just going to leave that one there. So if you watched my video that I did where I made the succulent stuffy plushy little plant, we're going to cast off the same way I did there. Okay. So you're going to take 2 stitches and put them one inside another. Okay. Do that again. Take the 2 stitches, get closer. Take this one, put it through that one, pull it up. Don't let go of that one. Okay. Bring it over top. Take the next stitch, pull it through that one. Okay. Keep doing this all the way around. Okay. I'm going to reach around my camera thing for this part. Camera stand is in my way. All right. Take your next stitch and push it through the one that you just did. Pull up. Okay. And what you're doing is creating a cast off row. You can do this with blankets too. In fact, it was the first way I learned. All right. Push it through. I think this is actually easier in some ways and uses less yarn. Push it through. This is how I make my rims. Whenever I make something with a rim, push it through. Yeah, I wish I wouldn't have did that pearl base. It's not giving me the vibe that I want. It's okay though. We live, we learn, okay? I think we all do. Even somebody who's been knitting for a long time, we make a lot of mistakes too, especially when we're trying something new. All right, so we're gonna stretchy, stretchy, stretchy. All right, now that would actually make a very pretty basket. All right, now we've got, yeah, I should have cut that. See if I can loop that one through that one. No, all right, there we go. So normally I would have my cast off yarn right there. You could also have cut this and put, there's just so many ways you can do it. Okay, so you're gonna end up having, you know, you're out of a stitch. So normally I'd have my cast off yarn cut. Actually, I'll do it that way, then I'll just cast on. I was gonna save it there for the basket handle, but when I did a little plant, okay, so now we can just loop that through, close it up, okay, feed it through your next stitch. All right, get it nice and solid. Feed it through again. Okay, and then I'm gonna go inside and burn it together because I want to make it secure, but you could also tie a knot if you don't like to burn. I'm gonna try to use my candle lighter this time because it doesn't give as big of a flame. I still don't think I made these top stitches quite tight enough. Truth be told, this is my first time making one of these. All right. Because I don't like how small this opening is, but it will actually hug your plant better. So make your cast on your last row before you cast off, make them a good 3 fingers so that it doesn't. All right, so this is our shape so far. Okay, keep stretching that out. Chunky yarn stretches. This is basically a basket without a handle. No? All right, so we're gonna do 3 handle-like type things, the strands. And I was going to mix the colors. You could mix in, you know, some of the pink truffle. So just go inside, make a stitch, or leave a longer tail so it doesn't fall off. All right, take this, you're going to pull up a stitch through here, okay? And then I go around and I also pull one through the other side, okay? So you've got one pulled through on each side, and then you're just going to go back and forth. We'll tie this in later, okay? You're going to go back and forth and knit. Okay, I'll show you this for a little while. I'll tell you when the shortcut is, when you can stop watching if you want, because the next 2 handles are going to be the same as this one. But let's do this a little bit, okay? And then bring it back around from the inside. Pull up a stitch, okay? Go inside, pull up a stitch, just so that, you know, you can purl them if you want. It's up to you. This way you get a thicker handle than if you were to just pull up one stitch on the inside and go. I wouldn't want to do that with a heavy plant. And again, with that basket, I wanted a nice chunky handle. So this is how people get those wide handles. It does look really good if you put a different color on the inside than you do the outside and then knit them together. You ended up with like a really cool looking braided look. I can try and do that with the next one. All right, and then I'm gonna knit through this one. Hopefully you guys can see this. I don't have much room on camera space. Knit through this one. knit through this one. Remember, make this shorter than you really want it if you're measuring like how far you're going to hang this from your ceiling. And the ends we're just going to put on a hook. All right, I'm going to go sideways because I'm getting off camera here. I'm having a hard time. All right, knit through that hole. And then you're going to knit back through this one, back and forth from the inside until you get to the length you want these. Okay. I am getting a little better at my tutorials, you guys. Just bear with me. I just started doing them this year. All right, see how long that's getting? Okay, and I know with a plant hanger, normally the strands like this are really, really long. Like, I don't know, people want them to hang pretty low from the ceiling so that they can reach them. Not a plant person, like I said, because my cat. All right, so I left off on that side. I'm going to knit through this side. Take my working yarn, knit through this side, knit through this side. All right, now we've got it a good, I would say, about 8 inches long, and it's going to stretch even longer than that. And then after it hangs for a while, it'll stretch too. So I'm just going to knit through here. All right. I'm going to make these short again, just for the tutorial, so we don't have to. And knit through. And then I will finish it up before. Okay. All right, so we've got that one. I'm going to go ahead and cut this to show you a couple different ways. This is going to depend on what you're hanging it from, you know, as to where, you know, how you're going to make your end piece here. So what I would do, like I normally do, is take this, pull it through that one, and then back through this one again to just kind of tie those off. Okay. Somehow I end up with a funky long loop there. Here, let's undo that. Sorry. I don't like that. I'll show you what I did again. You can always undo it. Aha. Okay, yeah, this last loop here I just made too big. All right, so again, let's do that again. So don't go through this loop that you ended up with. Go inside out to the next loop, and then inside out to this loop, just to close these up, okay? So now these are closed up. Now you could cut this off and tie this around, like, well, tie the next 3 together, okay? And then you'll have like this right here you can put over your ceiling hook, okay? So I'm going to leave this there for now until we do the other 2. You can leave these like 3 separate strands and just put each one of them on your ceiling hook, or when you get done with all 3 of your hanger things, you can tie them together with this at the end. So I'm going to do a couple short ones, really. All right. So that one, oh, your end piece here, again, just weave it through. Weave it through your sides. You don't want it too long because you don't want it to run into your next one. And then you can burn it. I'm just going to leave it for now. We don't take too long. All right. I'll do the other 2 with you. You don't even have to do 3 if you want to just have 2 handles hanging off the thing for your plant holder. It's up to you. I just normally see them with 3. So I'm going to do here, about here and here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Pull up a stitch. Okay, grab the top loop here, take your working yarn, push some of it through, leave a tail so that you can weave through. All right. and then come to the other side of that top stitch. Bring this over, knit stitch through there, and you've got your 2 loops again that you're going to keep using back and forth to make your next chain. All right, and just knit back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to pause this while I do my other 2 really quick, and I'll come back and we'll figure out the end together. Okay, and we're back. So I did my 3 big long straps, whatever you want to call them, and pretty much done. Here we are. I just wanted to show you again what they look like when you're done. At the top, you'll end up with 3 strands of yarn there hanging. So you can either just tie all 3 of them together, is what I would do, and then hang them on your loop. It's going to depend what kind of plant hanger that you have, that you know how you're going to want to do this. You could also put the hook right through, get like a drop hook and put it through all 3 of these, or just take all this and tie it together however you want. I wanted to mention real quick again, if you were making an Easter basket, you could, like this one, the tan one that I showed you earlier, I did one big long handle like this. I attached it to the other side by taking this loop here and taking this and just pulling it through. I'll show you. Or you can pull up a stitch too, like you can leave it, instead of putting this strand through here, leave it just as 2 knit stitches sticking up, and you can weave them through there too. So if I can get this through. So you could just take one of these, knit it through a couple of times just to make yourself a basket handle, and then just keep weaving it back and forth so that it attaches and you have a basket handle. You can also make 2 short ones that go up and over the side. So again, sorry about the kind of messy tutorial here. I've only made, I think I made 1 of these before, and I didn't write down everything that I did. So this is what it'll end up looking like. My minimalist plant that I have over there doesn't fit through it because he's too short, or I would put a plant in it for you. So this ended up being a little taller than what I would have needed for that, but I wasn't really intending on using it. I just wanted to make a plant hanger for you guys. So I hope you could understand this well enough and that it wasn't too nuts and messy. If you have any questions, again, comment below or come to the group. If you're not in our group, come to Chunky Yarn Blanketeers and join. We do a lot of great different projects there, and there's other tutorials there that other group members have made that I can't put on my YouTube because they're not mine, but you'll learn more there than you will just on here. And I will put a link to my yarn. It's actually on special right now. I'm trying to clear out my 2-packs that I started selling, and I'm going to start selling them in 4-packs at a bigger discount. And I'm constantly adding new colors, and we're always adding new tutorials to the channel. So just have any questions, you can either comment below here or go to the group and ask. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you'll make lots of plant holders. Thank you.